Hello and welcome to Section 1, Episode 26 of the LUFC Fan Zone podcast. I'm Sam Isles.
And I'm Jack Ellis.
And each episode we'll be talking to an ex-Leeds United player or manager about their time at the club. Last episode we spoke with Matthias Bogus, who joined Leeds in January 2019 and of course is still a Leeds United player, but is currently out on loan at the minute with Spanish second division side Logroñés. In last episode, which was the second section of episode 25, Matthias spoke about Marcelo Bielsa and how as a head coach he keeps himself to himself, which is something which is clear to the fans. But he also thinks that Bielsa is an amazing head coach and someone who has improved him as a player. But the one thing he said negatively about him was that he might want to have a bit of a stronger bond with Bielsa. Did you get that impression too, Jack?
Yeah, I did. And there was one word which stuck out, and a word which he was using quite frequently actually, which was frustration. He was saying that he was frustrated a lot, and whether that's down to the language barrier or I don't know, but from what I see anyway, I think it's the same for every player. In my opinion, I don't think he's been singled out. But at the same time, he has every right to be frustrated if he wants to have game time. But some players might see it as a good thing that the manager's a bit further distant away. But obviously in Matthias' case, he would probably prefer it the other way. But once again, I think that goes down to personal preference.
Yeah, definitely. And Matthias also touched on the celebrations after winning the promotion last season. Something which he said was the best day in his career because not only did Leeds win promotion at the Premier League that day, Bogus also received a winner's medal, of course, and he made his championship debut in that final match against Charlton. Following promotion, he was sent out on loan at the start of this season, and he said that he was close to joining both Luton Town and Charlton on loan before heading out to Spain. And he also said that he might need another loan next season before he sees himself ready to compete for a place in the Premier League squad. Do you think he's right, Jack, that he needs another loan? Because he is still 19 years old, so he can play for the under-23s if he wanted. But he seemed to suggest that he's already outgrown the under-23s and he needs first-team experience to be able to progress further at Leeds.
Yeah, I think he's capable of playing first-team football. Maybe not at Leeds at this moment in time, like he said himself, but I think the best way to develop as a player and get used to first-team football is by playing first-team football. And regardless of what division it is, I still believe that if you're involved with a first team at any level, it's still a bit of a culture change to being part of an academy or an under-23s team. But hopefully next season, he could come back to England, maybe go out to a lower league club, see how he does there and move on from there. But I think going forward is a very bright prospect, and hopefully in a few years' time we can see him walk out as a Leeds United player in the Premier League.
I hope so as well. And if you haven't had the chance to listen to that previous episode with Matthias Bogus, or if you've missed any of our other shows, they're all available on Spotify, YouTube and Apple Podcast, simply by searching LUFC Fan Zone Podcast. Just before we go into today's show, today's episode is sponsored by the Mystery Football Kit Co.
So the guys over at Mystery Football Kit Co have reached out to us and happily agreed to sponsor the podcast and support us as a small business ourselves. They are Leeds fans, and what they are offering is a Mystery Football Kit Box. And if you're not sure what a Mystery Football Kit Box is, it's the opportunity to get your hands on a shirt you might not have got before. It's from any team, from any time, including this season as well, all over the globe.
All you have to do is select your size on their website, as well as any kits or colours you don't want to feature in your mystery box. So obviously you'll be selecting no red kits in that category straight away. And your very own mystery shirt will arrive on your doorstep, and you won't know what kit you've received until you open up.
All of their shirts are handpicked to each order, and every item is of high quality, and I must emphasise as well, genuine, brand new football shirt from either this year or any previous year from any club around the world.
And because of our partnership, as well as the fact that we like to look out for our listeners, if you enter the code LUFC FanZone at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your order. So make sure you head over to Mystery Football Kit Co on Instagram or www.mysteryfootballkitco.com to check them out, and make sure you add the discount code LUFC FanZone at checkout. But on to today's show, and this week we're back with a former Leeds United player, and someone who joined the club in 1999 from Norwegian side Sogndal, a side he now manages in the Norwegian second division. During his 7 years at the club, he made just short of 200 appearances in all competitions, most of which came in the Premier League. However, he did also stay at the club following the club's relegation and spent 2 seasons with Leeds in the Championship. Injuries and Leeds' financial crisis limited his appearances during his final couple of seasons at the club, as Leeds struggled to pay his reported £4,000 appearance fee on top of his already high wage, which eventually resulted in a return to Norway with SK Brann. Despite his injury problems, he was remembered fondly by Leeds United supporters, especially by the large Scandinavian fan base. That's right, this week we're delighted to be joined by former Leeds United midfielder Eirik Bakke. Eirik, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Just before we begin speaking about your time at Leeds, Eirik, it'll be great to talk about what you're currently doing, because you're now the manager of Norwegian First Division side Sogndal, which isn't just your boyhood club over there in Norway, but it's also the team who Leeds bought you from back in 1999, and also the side that you retired at 2012. And you've been the manager there since 2015, so what's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been good. As I say, it's where I grew up. I'm back to where I grew up, and I think I've been through this. I'd say this club through. My dad was the leader of this club for 30 years. So yeah, now I'm the manager for 7 years. So it's time flies on. So far I'm enjoying it. Enjoying working with young players and developing them, selling them on, and so it's a good start for me in my manager career.
Yeah, and like you said, it is your first role in management, and because of that, have you taken any inspiration from any of your former Leeds managers? Because during your time at Leeds, you played under some very successful and experienced managers. So did you take anything that they maybe taught you into your own managerial career?
Yeah, I think taking a good and a bad, I think, from all the managers, most of the good things. And then, of course, it's all about leadership and how you're leading the players. And taking with as well, I had some great managers at Leeds, some great coaches. So I brought that back to how I'm here. We had a great younger players there at the time. And, of course, the way we play as well is inspired by some of the football we played at Leeds. So it's, of course, a lot of things I've learned in England and mostly through my career I've taken into my manager career. So, it's, how to say, it's, I've been lucky and been working under some great managers. So it's, but mostly I could take something from them, but I have to find in my own way as well. But it's, I'm enjoying it at the moment. So we'll see how far I'm here.
And like Sam just mentioned as well, Sogndal has been a big part of your career in football, as it was the side that Leeds signed you from in 1999 when you were just 22 years old for a reported $1.75 million. Can you remember when you first became aware of Leeds' interest and how you felt about the possibility of moving to a Premier League team at the time?
I think it's... we were playing at the under-21s Norway. I was the captain of that team, so I know a lot of teams were following me and some other players, Stefan Iversen, went to Spurs. So it's and then I knew Ian Broomfield, the chief scout. He went for Leeds at the moment. He went to a lot of the international games, and so they were around us. So I knew of Leeds' interest. I knew of Tottenham. There was a few other clubs was interested. So Norwegian players at that time was very many in England as well in the Premiership. So they came and Ristel, they came and watched me at the under-21 match in the European Championship in Romania. Then I knew they were very interested. So it was exciting. I played in Sogndal at the moment. They were in the first division, so it was of course a big step moving from a place with 6,000 people living into 2,000 people watching the games to 40,000. So of course it was a big change to go from Sogndal to Leeds. But of course, I want to say when I was in Sogndal is a club who develop young players as well. So I felt I was ready when I went to Leeds.
Obviously, you must have been very excited to move to England and to the Premier League. But what was it like to leave Sogndal, which was your boyhood club, the club that you would have grown up with, a side where you went through the youth ranks and made your professional debut with? So what was it like to leave?
Yeah, of course it was a dream for me. I always watched English football. I was Everton fan. I was Everton fan when I was young, watching all the Duncan Ferguson and all these players, Gary Lineker and all them growing up, and I followed them a lot. And then of course, I watched the Leeds as well and other teams, and suddenly you are there and playing with the players you just read about. So of course, it's a big step for me. And but it's only a football field, 11 players, 22 players, and it's all about same things. Of course, it took some months to get into it, but I think the way Leeds set up, the way the good setup was at Leeds, was very easy for me to come into a young group with the same age. Many of the players who was there, young, hungry players. And then I had Alfie Haaland with me, who helped me, and Gunnar Halle was there, so they helped me. And like the transition wasn't too hard, so I think it went quite smoothly as long as I come into the football.
And you actually joined Leeds in May 1999, which was just a week after the 98-99 campaign, where Leeds finished fourth. But before you joined the side, you said you supported Everton and knew of English football. But what did you know specifically about Leeds? Because for some reason, I'm sure there is a reason, but there's always been a big Norwegian and Scandinavian following of Leeds United, both before your time, and some of the supporters obviously followed your career to Leeds as well and have stuck with Leeds. But what did you personally know about Leeds before you came to the club?
I knew it was a traditional good English club. Of course, we watched a lot of English football in Norway every Saturday, 4:00. We watched all the games, so I knew quite a lot about the team they had, the players who've been there before. So it was like, so I knew a lot about English football when I came over. I think that helped me as well. I went over as well a little before I signed to train a couple of days with the team. I think that helped me as well. So I knew when I come over. When I was 18, I was in West Ham, trained for a week, and when I was 19, I was in Liverpool for a week and trained. So I was prepared for English football, and I think that helped me as well when I came to Leeds. It's of course. I never. 2 years before, I went with a trip with former mates as well. Then we stopped in Leeds. We had a night out there. I shouldn't have said it.
Great night out in Leeds, isn't it? Great place to have a night out.
No, so it's strange. 1 year later, I lived just 5 minutes from where we stayed in the hotel, so it was just things changed quickly. So, but of course, English service football is very big in Norway, and the Leeds fans over here are. Yeah, from the 70s and 80s, grew up a big fan group, and everywhere I go now in Norway with the team, it's Leeds supporters everywhere. So I think it's a big interest, and then so it's for Norwegian players to come to England. It's not so hard. It's not too long, but of course, it was a big transition from the football, from the players, and how quickly everything went to the speed, and of course, but I think after some months I came into that.
And you were the second signing at Leeds under manager David O'Leary, who was appointed in the October before, and David Bakke was his first signing. However, in the season that you arrived, the club spent close to £30 million on players to help boost the side's title chances following that fourth place finish in the previous season. And when you arrived, were you aware that huge amount of money was going to be spent? And was that an incentive for you to come and join Leeds? Because it would have given you a great chance to win the Premier League in your first season in English football.
I think it was, for me, when Leeds wanted me, it was just number one. I just wanted to go there because of I spoke to the manager, the way he spoke about me as a player, the way he wanted me to get into the team. I think the football they played suited me, and, with mixed up with many other young upcoming players, I felt this was the right place to go. And then, of course, the ambitions of the club was to get into the Champions League, and then, of course, maybe not fighting for the league title, but to start to climb the table and try and mix up with Man United and all these players. I think it was great ambitions for the team. So this was a very easy move for me. It was, when you get a chance like this, when I had that time, just to jump onto it, and I could see, this team growing up to fighting for titles, and we were close as well, of course, the first season.
And you made your Leeds United debut in the second Premier League game of that first season, which was a 3-0 away win at Southampton with Michael Bridges scoring a hat-trick. You came off the bench with 10 minutes left of that game, but you made your full Leeds debut a few weeks later against Newcastle at Ellen Road. What did that feel like for you, walking out for the first time in a full Ellen Road at the start of the game, as well as the 3-2 win itself? Because that result put Leeds top of the Premier League after just 9 games.
When I were looking at as well, kicking down Mark Hughes, first thing I do after 30 seconds is to get a yellow card. So it was just, it was something I was not used to in Norway to tackle. So something I had to learn over there. But of course, to come onto Ellen Road, and when the manager told me that I'm going to start against Newcastle, because I don't know, I think Bakke got injured or something, and then suddenly I got the chance. So yeah, it was just a dream, and to go into the tunnel then before the game and the full house of Leeds supporters was just one of my biggest moments. I think always something I dreamed of, and of course the match as well. I think when I came out there and started playing, it felt like I was playing in Sogndal. I felt very comfortable. So of course at the end we were 2-0 up, I think, and then Alan Shearer scored 2 goals, and then Barker Bridges scored the winner again. But we should have won more than we were all over them. But it was, of course, it's good to make your debut when a team are winning. And of course, as you said, the top of the Premiership as well. So it was like a flying start for me.
That Newcastle game was the first of many few in the Premier League that season, and you started 38 matches in all competitions in your first year at Leeds, which is very impressive given that you were just 22 years old at the time, in a new country and playing for a side who are competing right at the top of the Premier League. But did you expect to get that much game time in your first year at Leeds? Because obviously you're arriving at the club as a very good player, but David O'Leary in the management might have saw you as a player for the future who could ease into the game time.
Yeah, I think that was my plan as well. I just remember the first pre-season in running around in Roundhay Park, running for 2-3 hours behind Eddie Gray. I was in the hardest group in midfield with Lee Boy and Harry Kuehl, and so it was and Eddie was in front, so it was a hard start for me. After 2 days, I couldn't walk, so it was just a big step up in the way we trained, the way hard we trained, and everything. But the way when I come through that, I felt, with the quality and the talent you had, and then the manager and the staff believe in you. And I think David Bakke got injured, did his Achilles as well, made way for me so I can play more. I don't think the plan was for me to play more, but it's with everything. You need to take your chance when you get the chance. If you take it quickly, you're into the team. And I think that's what the manager saw when I took my chance, and then he could see I was ready to play. So, of course, my first season was probably my best season in Leeds. The way everything in there, with the UEFA Cup, with everything. And so I think it was a great start for me in the club. And we were leading the title race as well a long way before we lost at home against Man United. It was in football. You never know when your chance is coming. You just need to be ready when you get the chance. That's football.
At the halfway point in your first season at Leeds, the club were flying high at the top of the Premier League. However, in the start of December, after previously losing just 3 times in the league, the side's form drastically changed. And after 4 losses in 6 games, the side slipped off the top of the league for the first time in almost 2 months. During that spell, the club also had unexpected problems off the pitch, with 2 of Leeds' main players, Jonathan Woodgate and Lee Bowyer, needed to attend court cases because of an incident at the start of the year 2000. Obviously, we won't go into that incident itself. However, how did you feel that their commitments off the pitch affected Leeds' performances on it? Because both Woodgate and Bowyer were key players for Leeds, and when they had to attend their legal duties, the team seemed to begin to suffer because of that on the pitch, and surely that wasn't just a coincidence.
Yeah, it was. I think the way the 2 boys did that, attracted out. I think they were very professional. Jonathan didn't play much, I think, at the time, but Lee Bowyer came into the matches and played. So, and I think we just backed them and stood by them, and felt like the football was the freedom for them to play. So, but then you had the Galatasaray incidents as well, who affected the team, young team, and the way the fans got killed there, and it was very strong for us. I remember, in Istanbul, and after that we didn't recover quickly because there was so much going on with everything. So, especially with a young group, then with all the things happening outside the pitch, I think that affected us on the pitch as well. So, because we're flying, we took every game, and then I think we would have. if those things wouldn't happen, especially in Galatasaray, I think we would have been not fighting for a Champions League place, but I think we would have been fighting for the title as well, because it's we were so the way we played that year. I remember, I think we had 12 games in a row with wins, so we're just flying through every game, and in Europe, everything we were not fearing anyone. We believed in ourselves, so I think that's my first year. Everyone says maybe the year after you can maybe talk about the first year, the hunger and the unfairness. The team didn't fear anyone, was just crazy in that team. We didn't care who we played, we just played our game. And so I think without those things, it was a lot for the young group to handle, I think, at the end. And maybe that's one of the concerns why we didn't maybe finished in the top 2.
Like you mentioned then, that night in Istanbul with Galatasaray, and coincidentally, it's 21 years to the day, just next week, that the incident occurred. And I understand that it might be a hard topic for you to talk about, but would you be able to speak about your experiences in Istanbul during the lead up to that match and how you found out about the tragic events that happened that night?
Yeah, well, as you say, it's a long time ago now, of course, but you remember we get the chairman and the manager, I think, you get us all players down in the room and told about what happened. So the night before, and then it was just we didn't know if the match was going to be played or what happened. And the way we came to the stadium and the way the people reacted in Turkey was not good. So towards the fans as well. So we came out to the stadium and it was full and people jumping out like they won a battle or something. So it was very strong on the players as well. Of course, we were a much better team than Galatasaray, much better team. So with that match 2-0 away, we were on ourselves, and of course we come back to Ellen Road. I think that's one of my highlights in Leeds. If you cannot say highlights, but the thing I remember most is that our home match at Ellen Road, especially for myself, was well scoring 2 goals, but the build up to that match, what's been talked about, everything's surrounding the families of the people, of the fans who got killed and everything. I think and the way the Leeds supporters stuck together then was a very special night at Ellen Road. Even though we didn't come through, it was something I remember for a long time. And the way, it was very, the atmosphere was very strange. So, but it was not good to play that match. But we couldn't take them to the final as we tried to. But of course, it was for a young group. It was very disappointing to be a part of things like that, and especially now as well when we went out. It was like after that something in the tank emptied.
Despite the negative incidents in the second half of the season, on the pitch and individually, you had a season to be proud of, because not only did you start 38 games that season, which Sam touched on earlier, but in your first season in English football, you won Leeds' Young Player of the Year award. So what did that feel like, especially as Leeds was a very young squad at the time, and to stand out and win that award in your first season must have felt really good.
Yeah, I think, of course, Harry Kewell is 1 year younger than me. He got the Player of the Year, so I think he got the Player of the Year that year. But of course, it was a big thing for my individual. Of course, coming over to Leeds and play so much in my first season, both in league and Europe, and it was like a flying start for me. So, for me, it's just to say after my first year. It was like, you don't think that you're going to be playing so much, even though you want to play every match as a player. You still want to be playing match, but to be playing with so many talented players it's you are a part of a team who's just moving upwards. And I think after that season, we're just looking upwards. We want to take another step. We want to go up again, high in the league. And of course, what happened after the Champions League and everything was like a dream come true for everybody, and of course for myself, to be playing in the highest leagues and in the biggest competition of Europe. It's something all boys dream of.
In your second season at the club, Leeds once again spent big money on incoming players and spent a reported £43 million on new arrivals, which surely would have meant that the ambition was once again to try and compete at the top of the Premier League. However, due to a poor start that season, Leeds were 12th in December, which was a stark contrast compared to the previous year, despite the new additions and the new quality that the side had. Why do you think that was? Because on paper, Leeds had a far stronger squad. However, the results in the Premier League weren't really showing that.
No, I think it can mix up with we got some new players in to adjust to the team. And then we had a lot of injuries. It was crazy. The injury we had, I think, we played Barcelona away that year. It was so it was something mixed up. We got everything on once. So, but I think we recovered well. I think that's of course the bad run we had. That's why we didn't finish into the Champions League that year. So it was just all teams get this, and of course the pressure on the players as well to take new steps is always big in places like Leeds. When you do well, the club, the players, and the fans wants us to do even better. I think the year before, the players didn't feel any pressure. They felt that just everyone. They was like surprised that we did so well. And then the year after, when the things move on, the pressure comes on. You get a bad start, and you have to start feeling now you have to get into the top 4, top 3, and suddenly you're struggling. So I think it's a mix-up between the players and now, but with the injuries we had and with all the high expectations, I would say, who maybe took a little bit on the young players' shoulders. I think it's, even though we recovered quickly after in January and we started to win games again, and of course we had a good run as well in the Champions League that year as well. So, but as well, of course, a little bit disappointing that we couldn't move up and be fighting for the title like we did the year before.
You just talked about that Barcelona game itself, and obviously Leeds got into the Champions League that year because they finished third the season before, and overcoming 1860 Munich in the qualifying rounds, Leeds were drawn in a group which consisted of Barcelona, AC Milan and Besiktas. And obviously, you just talked about the Barcelona game, but what was your initial reaction when you saw that group? Because that was a pretty hard group.
Yeah, I remember we were out training on the training pitch, and suddenly someone came shouting out who we're playing against, and of course we thought it was just fun. We loved it to be playing in the big teams and playing against the best players in Europe, of course, and that's the kind of how to say it, that's the kind of we didn't fear anyone. We just thought that we could beat anyone at the time. So if it was Manchester United, Arsenal, or Real Madrid, or Bayern Munich, or whoever, we thought that we could beat anyone. I think that's why we came so far that year as well. That we just played our game, and the way we played with the intensity we had in our play, a lot of teams struggled. So it's the first group stage was something, and then move on from there. You come into the even tougher groups as well. So it was a great time for the players, for the club, for the fans, for everybody at least to be joining, playing against the big boss.
Yeah, absolutely. And first up in that group was Barcelona away, which Barcelona ended up winning 4-0. However, after beating AC Milan and Besiktas at Ellen Road, Leeds were well in with a chance of qualifying, with the final fixture of the group was a trip to the San Siro to face AC Milan, with Leeds needing to avoid defeat in order to guarantee qualification. Don Matteo scored a very memorable goal which goes down in Leeds history that night to clinch a 1-1 draw, meaning that against all the odds, Leeds would progress into the following round. But what can you remember about that night in Milan? Because it's, like I said, it's still remembered well by Leeds fans and sung at matches today, and of course you played 90 minutes in that game.
Yeah, of course, we knew we needed to get a draw, and then Milan were happy with a draw as well. We took the lead early on, but just the build up to that match, it was just remember to go down to Milan and you need to get something out of the game. I think we had a league game at the weekend. We won. I think it was against Tottenham, or I can remember. And then the boys had a good night on the Saturday, and the manager wasn't too happy about that. So he told me and Dominic before the game at the hotel, remember, you two better perform tomorrow. If not, the team's going to have a go at you. So I think Dominic took it very seriously. He scored a goal as well. So it was a great night, especially what I remember most of it after the game, the sing songs with the fans behind the goal and Gareth Kelly standing leading the line. So I think that's something we had a special bond with the supporters at that time, those years, because we traveled with them in Europe. Most of them we know, so it was a very special bonding with the Leeds supporters. I think when the fans players look back at that time, it's something, yeah. We want to come back to Leeds one day. Hopefully in a few years' time, Leeds will be back up there because the supporters in that club deserves it.
Absolutely. And Leeds ended up progressing through the second stage, which consisted of a group including Real Madrid, Lazio and Anderlecht, and then went on to beat Deportivo in the quarterfinals and advanced to the semifinals where Leeds were drawn against Valencia. It was a huge achievement for Leeds to get that far in the competition, but after drawing 0-0 at Ellen Road in the first leg, how optimistic were you that Leeds could go to Spain and beat Valencia, or maybe even go all the way and win the competition?
No, we believed in it because we thought we were a better team than Valencia. Just before the game, I think the Lee boy was suspended suddenly. Just one of our main players. We knew that I had to play on the right that game because Lee boy is better as a right midfielder than I am in that game. But it was just, if you play those games, you need your best team. And I think maybe I was coming into the team then, but because he didn't play, I had to do a different role. But of course, with Lee, the form he was in that year was just unbelievable. So I think if he'd been playing that game, I think we'll have a lot better chance, even though I got to play. So it was just something we needed our best play in that match. And then we had a good chance. It's easy early on in the game, but then they scored in a handball. So it was just, everything was going against us at that time. I think the disappointment was very, of course, when you look back at it, of course, everyone talks about coming into the semifinals, but we had a great chance to go all the way that year. If we had our best players, all them together, I think we would have had an even better chance because it's so small differences in those big games. So, very disappointing that we didn't, of course, they ended up 3-0, but it wasn't a 3-0 game. When they scored the first goal and the second goal, we had to gamble, and it's the rest is history. But I think very disappointing that we should have got into that final. I think we were that year as well were a far better team than Valencia.
Like you said, Valencia came out 3-0 winners at the Messiah, and because of Leeds finishing fourth in the league, the side returned to the UEFA Cup for the following year. But in that season, Leeds continued their amazing form from the back end of the previous campaign and lost just twice between the first match of the season against Southampton and the 1st of January, meaning that Leeds had lost only 4 times in the Premier League throughout the calendar year of 2001. Because of that, Leeds were in a commanding position at the top of the Premier League. So did you finally think that in that 2001-2 season was going to finally be the year for Leeds to win the Premier League after finishing 3rd and 4th in the first 2 seasons at the club? Because that form was just incredible.
Yeah, of course. It's when you're into those, it's small. It can be a lot of injuries coming into the team, but the belief was there. And of course, when you're up there fighting as well, to lose 4 games in a calendar year for Lee, it was just unbelievable. The mentality we have in the team was brilliant. So, but as well to win titles, you need people maybe have done it before. So we were maybe missed some players who've been into doing it before because we couldn't go all the way that year either. So, but the quality was there, the talent was there, but as well it was maybe something lacking why we didn't go all the way that year as well. But that year we had, as you said, in 2001, 2002, all that year, it's just, I think we had a lot of runs before that as well. In the 99-2000 season, we had a lot of long runs, even without losses. So it was good mentality into the team. But, it's other good teams in England as well who want to win. So, but of course, the belief in everybody and Leeds at the time was that we didn't fear anyone, and it was disappointing when we want to get most of all get back into that Champions League position. That's the main thing, what we aim for, and everything over that was just to win titles. We know it's difficult, but that Champions League, to be involved in that was something the boys and the club wanted to go again. And of course, why we didn't go there, but it's to look back at many things, maybe spending a little bit too much money on players you didn't need, and used it on a little bit differently. Could have changed things, but it's easy to say after when the things starting to go downwards.
Because the side got knocked out of the UEFA Cup in the 4th round to PSV, got beat by Cardiff in the FA Cup 3rd round and got knocked out of the League Cup in the 2nd. In total, Leeds had 10 less games that season than the previous campaign. Understandably, you would have wanted to win every game, but how much did playing less European football and less cup fixtures allow you to concentrate on the league and have a better chance of winning the Premier League?
Yeah, I think it's... I didn't think we weren't talking about winning the title so much, because I think we were more about getting the way we were playing. We wanted to be in Europe. We wanted to finish highest possible, get into Europe the year after. That was the aim of the club. Of course, you want to win something, if it's a cup or of course, if you are running for the league title, you want to be winning. But to be at the time, and as well, it's. I don't know when did Rio go. I think he was on his way out as well. So it's important players were going out of the team as well. It was it was a special time, because Leeds were always in the news. It was always about expectations were so high. It was starting to going about the manager and everything. So it was starting to rip up a little bit of what was built up there. So. Because if you look at the team we had, there was so many talented players, but as well we had so many good players in that team who didn't play, and that starting to get frustration when we didn't get into Europe, and had so many good players, we didn't have enough games to be playing. So it was starting to get up a big frustration into the players as well, because some big names there are just not playing enough football for their career. So especially as you said, when you're out of Europe, you're out of everything, and then it was a big disappointing. Then it's not all about concentrating about the league in Leeds. Then it's all about being in all the competitions to be fighting. So it was a little step down, of course, but that's the way it is. You are in the big clubs like this, the ambitions are high, and then when you're not meeting them, you get a lot of stick. And at the time, we got, I think, deservedly not doing good enough.
Once again, Leeds' performance in the second half of that 2001-2002 season saw the side slip away from the title challengers and finish 5th in the Premier League despite that fantastic start. And at the end of the season, despite Leeds finishing in the UEFA Cup spot once again, manager at the time, David O'Leary, was sacked. Do you think that was the right decision? Because during his 4 years at Leeds, 5th was his lowest finish in the league, which suggested that the Leeds United chairman, Peter Ridsdale, and the rest of the board were not accepting anything other than Champions League qualification.
No, it was a big shock for me and the players. I think I was at home in Norway at the moment in the summer break, so I was just to sign a new contract as well. So the agent told me to fly straight over before I got sacked. No, so they don't change their mind now. It was a big shock for us. David O'Leary was great with the players. He had, the standards he had within towards the group and everyone, and especially what I can say is just good things to say about him. So we didn't understand what happened, and then and after that it was and I came back in the summer, and it was a strange feeling there, because something was missing there. Even of course Eddie was still there. It was a big part of Leeds when I've been there as well. One of the best coaches I've had. So of course it was a big disappointment when the gaffer went at that time, and so it was looking up to being a big change in the club.
And that brings an end to section 1 of episode 26.
Join us next week for section 2, where Eirik speaks about the decline of Leeds United and the club's fall from grace into the Championship. Eirik also speaks about the financial pressures he was under at Leeds, as when he was a top earner at the club during a tough financial period, he began suffering long-term injuries, something which he felt not only brought his time at Leeds to an abrupt and early end, but also caused problems between him and the Leeds United board. Thanks for listening.